Good morning and welcome to Living Local 15. I'm Jessica Williams. Thank you so much for joining me today. Grab your cup of coffee and enjoy the show. On today's show, we are continuing our Growing for the Future series, and I'm back in Warren, Indiana, picking up 1 month later, talking to farmer Brian to see how his crops are growing. Plus, I learned the next steps in his farming, all very interesting. I also chat with LTD Property in studio. They share with me ways you can buy and sell your home in a very unique way. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Fashion, food, and fun. You're watching Living Local 15 with your host, Jessica Williams.
This segment sponsored by the Indiana soybean and corn farmers. We are continuing our Growing for the Future series, learning all about farming and the different steps. I am here on a 4th generation farm in Warren, Indiana, and I'm so excited to speak with Farmer Brian to see what he has going on in June. Let's do it. I am joined again by Brian Warpup, a director at the Indiana Soybean Alliance. Hi, Brian.
Hi, good afternoon.
It's good to see you again.
Same here.
Yes, so we are continuing this journey and just really learning all about farming and the steps that you take. And so the last we spoke, I know that we were planting items, and I'm so amazed that now in June, they are sprouting up.
Yeah, the last time we were out here, which was about 3 weeks ago, we were just planting corn. It's out of the ground. It's 6 or 8 inches tall now. And same as our soybeans, and we're just finishing up or have finished up our crop, and now we're moving on to our next step.
Yeah, the next phase of it. So it goes pretty fast. So tell me, what stage are you in right now?
So right now, everything, like I said, is planted. We're kind of scouting everything to see if there are any problems, if there are any issues that happen during planting. Maybe start looking at weeds or other pests that may be coming in. Also, we're going to start part of the fertility program, which gives the plants the proper nutrients so that it can grow. And that's what we're going to start doing here in June with that.
Okay, and I know before, when you were out kind of looking through the seeds to make sure they were in the right position, what do you think now that you have seen them start to grow?
Oh, it's one of my favorite times of the year to start seeing them grow. Yeah, we call it the picket fence stand. It's every seed is there and everything is growing well, and the sunshine and the nice weather here in June really makes it grow.
Yes, very windy day on the farm.
It is a windy day today.
But it feels nice. The cool breeze feels nice. And so let's talk about the machine that's behind us. So this is a sprayer?
This is our sprayer.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is what we use to put on the products to kind of protect the crop. And when I say protect the crop, that is from pests or weeds or things that may be detrimental to our crop that's growing out in the field. So that's what this is right here.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's take a look at it.
Sure.
All right, Brian, so is sprayer the official word for this truck?
It's a sprayer.
Okay.
It is called a sprayer.
And so I see it's kind of lined up in the path of the rows of what you planted. So kind of share with me how it works.
Sure. Well, it mimics our tractor. So the cab and all the controls are inside the cab up there. We have a large tank, and that's where the water and chemicals are stored. That's 1,000 gallons is what is in that.
Oh, wow.
And so when we start to spray, it is dispersed through this boom, through these nozzles, and that's what sprays down into the canopy of the crop.
And so the sprayer, is it a dual function? Does it both hydrate the plants and also create some type of pesticide and ant repellent or bug repellent?
No, the water is only used as a carrier for that chemical, because we can't spray just straight chemical. So we use sometimes only ounces of chemicals, and so we spray between 10 and 20 gallons an acre. So that's really not enough to hydrate any part of the crop.
Right. So you really rely on the rain?
We rely on the rain very much so. Yeah.
Okay. And then how often do you have to use the sprayer?
So we've used it a little bit already here in May. Anytime we start seeing pests or we see a problem that needs our attention. So that could be anything from weed control, an insect may come in sometime, fungicide. We spray fungicide, just anything that will inhibit the plant from being 100%.
Yeah, well, let's walk over. You know, I want to see the plant up close and personal now that I feel like I know the seeds a bit. I touched the seeds. And so, how tall do you expect this plant to get?
Well, right now it's about 4 inches. It's grown 4 inches in the last 3 weeks, but it obviously had to come out of the ground. Here in June, it will grow a couple of inches a day if all of the conditions are right.
Yeah.
So when it's 85, 90 degrees and it has plenty of water, it doesn't take long. So by the 4th of July, most of this will be well over your head.
No way.
Yeah, so, and after it's all done, it'll be about 8 to 10 feet tall.
Really?
Yes.
That's incredible. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing that. And so let's talk about all this equipment that you have here on the farm. I know that there are different purposes for each. You have your sprayer, the tractor, and then you mentioned the big white tank back there. So what is that?
The white tank has anhydrous ammonia in it. That is 82% nitrogen.
Okay.
So with our corn, that's its main food source is nitrogen. Obviously water and sunshine, but as far as to make that plant grow to its fullest potential, we have to give it nitrogen, and Mother Nature does not do that. So we have to apply that, and we will apply that in between the rows here in the first couple of weeks of June, and it takes us about that long to do that. And so that's kind of how we feed that crop.
Right, so the nitrogen though is like an air puff, right, in a sense?
It is liquid until it comes in contact with air, and then it turns to a gas.
Yes.
So when we inject it into the soil as liquid nitrogen, into the soil, and so then it goes into the soil, and then the roots of the corn will be able to absorb that through the water.
Okay, that's cool. I'm like, are you spraying on top, but you infuse it? Okay, that is so interesting. Well, let's hop up on the sprayer and you know, give it a little drive. It's so peaceful up here, Brian. And it seems we escaped the wind.
Yes, we did.
Yes. So tell me about the process with spraying, deciding on the best days, because it's windy today, so probably not today.
Correct, yeah, it's a beautiful day, the sun's shining, but we are too windy. It's probably 15 miles an hour, and if we spray today, which we'd like to be spraying today, what we spray would be what we consider off target and wouldn't go where it needs to go. So we as farmers need to be careful when and what we spray, but make sure it stays where it needs to stay and not somewhere else.
Yes, and on top of the spraying and of course making sure that it's watered, what else do you do throughout the process to really nourish the plant?
Here all summer long, we'll use a sprayer to spray other types of nutrients, zinc, sulfur, kind of like vitamins like you would take. The plant needs that as well.
Right.
But also last fall we put down fertilizer too in preparations for the spring for the next crop. So it already has it there, just not enough of it.
Not enough of it, okay. Awesome, well let's hop in this thing. All right. Is driving one of these really hard to do?
No, it's big. I'm 120 feet wide, so when I'm going through the field, I'm pretty wide open. But if you're going against a fence row or a neighborhood or a house, you kind of have to have a good judgment of distance so you don't hit anything.
Right.
And so that's probably the biggest challenge with coming or to drive this.
Oh wow! And now you're folding, so you're folding up the sprayer.
Yep, they're all folded.
Okay, and this is what makes you mobile.
Yes, so I'm about 11 feet wide now. I was 120, now I'm 11, so.
was fun. You make it look easy, Brian. Well, thank you so much for sharing more about this next step in your farming journey.
Thank you.
Yes, and if you would like to continue to follow our journey, stay tuned for the next edition here with Brian Warpup. We'll be right back. This segment sponsored by the Indiana soybean and corn farmers.
Follow us on social media at Living Local 15.
This segment sponsored by LTD Property Group. If you are looking to sell your home, well, you're in luck. Today I am speaking with LTD Property Group about how they help homeowners sell their home in a hassle-free way. And joining me are their owners, both Dakota Bailey and Tony Moore. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. So let's start off by kind of sharing with me a bit more about LTD Property.
So we have an office actually here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We've been buying properties for the last 5 years. And something that makes us different from traditional real estate service is that rather than making the process drawn out one where you get a realtor, you put a property under contract and you sort of expect to pay the realtor fees. Then there's an inspection, appraisals. There's a lot of things that goes into a traditional real estate transaction. We make it really simple because we are the end buyers. So a lot of times we'll put a property under contract and within about 2 weeks or so, the title work is ready. We wire over the funds and it's cash as is, and the sellers can take or leave whatever they want to from the property. There's no cleanup process, and so for a lot of folks, they like how simple it is.
Right. Okay. So that's the main difference between what your service provides and what people usually get when they are dealing with a realtor, is just the fact that there's so many steps.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, so you are providing a hassle-free way and, like you said, a more simple way. So kind of go through what that process looks like and what type of buyers in particular best could use your service.
Sure. So yeah, that's definitely, so there's 2 questions there. The first one is going to be, the typical process is going to be, we send somebody out there, go take a look at the property, and then at the end of that, they're going to walk through, they're going to give you an amount that we're able to offer for the property. So at that point, again, it's cash, it's as is, and then there's no inspection. So it's not like we're going to send other people back there and say, hey, we have an inspector, we need you to fix these items, or we need you to clean this out or anything. And then also it's more of a guarantee, whereas if you go to list it on the market, you're not necessarily going to get the price that you list it for. You're going to get offers, and then you have to decide if you're going to accept that or not. Whereas when we give an offer, now it's a set amount and you know how much you're getting. And so people are usually able to figure out their next steps based on the amount of money that they're getting, because there's not a whole lot of unknowns that are going to happen in the future.
Right.
Yeah, and so like an example of that would be, there was one woman who was starting to have heart problems, and she'd been to the doctor a lot recently. Well, they were an older couple, and she had a basement and she had an upstairs. And so she couldn't make it down to the basement anymore. And some of the mechanicals were downstairs. She couldn't make it upstairs anymore, and she still had some of her stuff up there. And so we basically explained to her that, like, hey, we can take it from here, and there's not going to be a process of you getting all of your stuff, packing it in boxes and that sort of thing. It's not going to be a big involved process of clearing out the house, getting professional photos taken, all that sort of thing. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to give you an offer, and as long as it makes sense for you and your husband, you can move on to, I think she was headed to the nursing home at that point.
Yeah, both of them were going. Yeah, because she actually had a doctor's note that said that she could not go upstairs anymore. Otherwise, like, she was basically going to have a heart attack, and so they had to move out of that property.
And then that step, so you're saying that you all provide just an extra service on top of the normal home buying. You actually just make it a really smooth process for whatever they have to do next.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just one of the buyers. There's a ton of different people in different scenarios who usually sell us their properties. Another one was it was a big CEO of a company, and then he had some tenants that basically just destroyed his property. And then at that point, it was taking away his time and effort, and then he could, his dollar per hour was just better utilize it, him doing his job. So he's like, I really don't want to have the headache of dealing with, fixing this up, getting it on the market.
Yes.
And then so he was wanting to give up equity in order for speed and convenience for him, just because it made more sense for what his timing was.
Yes. And so what type of homes do you buy? I'm sure there's a big assortment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny, I always tell people about like the cheapest house that we've bought and the most expensive house that we've bought. So the largest property we've ever bought is a 12,000 square foot mansion.
Oh, wow.
The smallest property we've ever bought is probably like 600 square feet or so. And we started off buying properties in lower income parts of town, and we've moved to parts of town where the country clubs and everything are at, and people are have a 6 or 7 bedroom property. So we bought everything from properties that were condemned to properties that were perfectly fine, and the people who inherited those houses were just like, my brother really wants this on land contract, and I don't want to have to deal with him. I don't want to let him know that I'm selling the house, and I want it gone. Can you guys buy this property so that I don't have to confront my family members?
Yeah, we'll also buy properties that already have tenants in them.
Okay.
So a lot of times people think that, I have to move my tenant out before I'm able to sell my property, because usually, when you're going to list it on the market, people want to live in the home, whereas us as investors, we'll buy them with a tenant in there. It doesn't make a big difference for us. So we'll buy them with the tenants, and then also we'll buy somewhere about an hour radius of Fort Wayne. We really don't like to go out of state, so that's usually the general area that we'll buy, but we'll buy basically almost any house.
So that's interesting. I want to back up for a second, because you say you would buy it with the tenant. So do you take over their lease? You take over the responsibility of managing that property and those who live in it?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, wow. That's unique.
We have over 60 units here in Fort Wayne. So we also do rental properties. Most of our rental properties are managed by AG Rentals. They're a local management company here. A few of them we've Airbnb'd out. So we have a lot of different options. If somebody has a nicer lake house and they're like, I don't know if this makes sense for an investor. Well, it might make sense for us, because there are always folks who want to go out to the lake for 3 days on a weekend, and they're willing to spend a few $100s in order to do so. It might make sense for us as an Airbnb. We may be able to spend a little bit more money on that house than they probably think.
Yeah, and something that's so popular right now is the skill of flipping homes, right? And just really using it for different reasons, whether it be to resell it or to Airbnb it and rent it out. And so I'm so curious, so you all do that process yourself, but do you also help other people get started in that process when you come across home buyers?
Well, it's funny that you actually mentioned that. So we also run the Fort Wayne Real Estate Investors Association. So that's really where we teach other people how to do it. So it's a free event that anybody who's interested in becoming an investor, or if you're already investing, then we can teach you basically different ways of how we do it.
Yeah.
And we just take all of the local people who are doing investing, and then we see what they're doing well, and then maybe some tips or advice that they can give. And so it's really creating a community of people who are interested in making Fort Wayne a better place.
Yeah.
And we host that the first Friday of every month. And I believe it's at 6 o'clock? 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So 7 o'clock, first Friday of every month. And it's a different location every time. We're working on getting a space that we're going to stay every single time. But as of right now, it's different every single time. But
that's awesome.
And that philosophy was sort of born out of, Dakota had a mentor that he went to, asked him if he would help him flip houses, and he sort of had the old value, the win-lose values, the you're my competition kind of values. I would never teach you. And so the opposite of that were some of these guys who we started learning from at our own Fort Wayne Real Estate Investors Association meetings back in the day. So we didn't start off without help. We got started, and then we found some folks who have already done this in Fort Wayne, guys like Colin Young, guys like Jay Redding, who were willing to give back to the
Yes.
community and show other people how to win too. They were genuinely interested in helping others. And so we want to be those win-win values for our local community and folks who are genuinely interested in getting started.
Right. That information is so great and so vital right now. And if people want more information about what you all do and to get in contact with you, how should they do so?
We have a QR code that's going to pop up on the screen, and that'll actually take you to our house buying website. So if you're in a position where you're like, hey, I'd really just like to know, what a cash buying company would pay for my property, maybe put in a little bit about your situation, and we'll have somebody reach out to you with a cash offer. We'll come take a look at the property and at least give you some advice, at least tell you what we would do if we were in your position.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing all about your business. I enjoyed learning about it. And if you would like more information about LTD Property Group, we'll have their website listed below and, of course, that QR code. We'll be right back. This segment sponsored by LTD Property Group.
Living Local 15, proudly driven by the Kelly Automotive Group.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, you can rewatch episodes of Living Local 15 on WANE.com or by downloading the WANE app. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, it's never too late to live your best life, so start living it today. And I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow for Friday. Bye-bye.
Have an idea for the show? Want to find out how you can be a guest? Contact us at livinglocal15@WANE.com. Content segments during today's Living Local 15 were paid for by these sponsors.